Omori is one of the best games I've ever played. It's an amazing experience about trauma and grief. The game was made by Omori and released in late 2020 on Steam. It follows the story of a boy named Omori, whose name is a shortened version of hikikomori, which is used to describe people who are totally withdrawn from society and seek extreme social isolation. The game starts in a white empty room, the only thing there being a sketchbook, laptop and tissues. So from this I can infer that Omori is in fact a Redditor. There's also a cat and a dark light bulb that hangs from the ceiling. There's a door that you can enter, and once you do, you enter the dream world where you meet your three friends, Aubrey, Kel and Hero, who are your main party members. Heading to the park, you'll meet your two other friends, Basil and Mary, your sister. Sitting around the picnic basket, you see photos of Omori and his friends. It becomes clear that Omori is the odd one out, with him having no colour unlike everyone else. After playing hide and seek, you head back to Basil's shoe house, where he drops a picture. Omori gets sent back to white space with no way to leave but to stab himself. He wakes up in his room. Late, and his mum left a message that she'll be out for 3 days and she wants you to say goodbye to your old friends. You walk downstairs. It tells you to calm down. You follow its instructions. You exit the battle and continue to walk towards your door that's being knocked on. It's Mary. You rush back to bed and return to the dream world. You find out Basil's missing and your main objective now is to find him. The battle system at its core is what you expect from a turn-based RPG, but has the emotion system to add depth. This works a bit like rock, paper, scissors, with the emotions being happy, angry and sad. Happy beating angry, angry beating sad and sad beating happy. The emotions also have stat changes. Happy increases luck and speed but decreases hit rate. Angry boosts attack but lowers defense, and sad boosts defense but lowers speed, and when you get hit you lose juice, which is this game's version of MP or SP in other games. The emotions also have 3 different levels that change how effective each stat changes. Another thing the gameplay does is the meter. Over the battle the meter will build up and you can either spend it on follow-up attacks or to switch to a different character, or you could spend it all and unleash your hard-hitting team attack, complementing the combat in the dungeons and areas. The team sets out to find Basil and their journey takes them to the vast forest, where eventually they'll encounter a ladder. They ascend it, causing Omori to face his first fear, heights. At the top of the ladder they arrive in OtherWorld, a hillside village where they ask people about where Basil is, until they found a bedridden space boyfriend. We agree to help him find a special mixtape to help him get better. The team search for this in the nearby Junkyard. After searching around they find the mixtape and meet Pluto, a planet who I'm assuming is mad about his planet status being removed, and he serves as a form of fast travel for us. We get back to Space Boyfriend and the mixtape sends him on that demon time, and now we have to battle him. After the battle we leave OtherWorld and follow a shadow version of Basil to a barn with nothing in it but a large picture. And going inside we arrive at a tall dark staircase. At the top we see a music stand with scribbled out sheet music on which triggers something in Omori, causing him to return to white space, which works as his safe area in his mind. He stabs himself and wakes up in the real world, where we find out his name is actually Sunny, and that starts the first day. The door is knocking again. We go to see who it is to find out it's Kel. He wants to see if Sunny wants to come out with him for one last time before he moves away. We realise in the real world Mary died 4 years ago, and her death caused everyone to drift apart. Kel tells us that Hero has been attending college and is coming back home soon, so he wants to get a welcome back gift. On the way home the two see Basil getting bullied by Aubrey and her new friends. After a short fight with Aubrey, the boys walk Basil back home, and they find out Aubrey took Basil's picture folder. So they go on a search for her, which leads them to the church. She runs away and they follow her back to her house where she puts the folder in the trash. They return the album to Basil and his caretaker and lets them come in for dinner. Basil learns that Sunny is moving soon and is clearly upset. He leaves the room to go to the bathroom. Sunny follows and sees him looking at the mirror, repeating, "Everything's gonna be okay, everything's gonna be okay, everything is gonna be okay." Basil is involved in whatever happened to Sunny. Unable to help Basil, Sunny returns home and meets the creature from last night, but this time is unable to beat it and returns to white space. Omori returns to his friends and they continue their search into the PyreFly forest, where Omori confronts another one of his fears, spiders. They journey through the maze-like forest and find a minecart track, which they travel on, taking them to the SproutMole village. Heading through the area, the team eventually ends up in Sweetheart's castle, where they watch a show where she's trying to find a new boyfriend. A contender tries to back out and get killed, so Hero volunteers as a replacement. Sweetheart rejects the two SproutMoles but instantly falls in love with Hero. She insists he marries her, but he refuses, causing the team to be sent to the dungeon. Now they have to escape the biggest area in the game. Eventually they find Sweetheart and beat her in a battle, but Space Boyfriend makes a reappearance and helps her up. They destroy the stage for the show, saying they don't need it anymore, and the group jumps down the hole. Omori gets separated from his friends and lands in a library, where we learn more about some of the things him and his friends did in the real world. Omori sees a vision of Basil and is shown the back of a photograph with a key taped onto it with a note. "Don't forget it's in the toy box." Omori goes back to white space and stabs himself, starting the second day. Today's the day Hero comes back from college and Kel wants Sunny to help get some food. They get the food and head back to Kel's house, where Polly comes round to ask them if they've seen Basil. Sunny and Kel go looking for him and go to their old hangout spot, where they see Aubrey and Basil having another argument. They break it up. Aubrey pushes Basil into the lake, and knowing Basil can't swim, Sunny jumps in to save him. Sunny faces another one of his fears, being water. He sinks and wakes up in an underwater version of his house, where he sees Mary and follows her down the stairs, until he eventually blacks out. Sunny wakes up back at the lake, where he sees Hero, who just arrived in time to save him and Basil. The group take Basil back to Polly so he can recover, and they return to Kel and Hero's house, where they repair the photo album and have dinner. They decide to sleep over at Sunny's house one last time before he leaves. Ready for bed, Sunny goes sleep and returns to Headspace. This time, instead of being greeted by his friends, Omori is alone and wanders around the forest until he sees Mary at a dock, where they swim across the water to try and find his friends. They reach land and they congratulate Omori for facing his fears: heights, spiders and water. But as there's still one fear left for him to face, and this one's going to be much harder. They reach a white window where Mary disappears through and leaves the whirlpool in her place. Jumping down leads him to DeepWell. He sees his friends have all got jobs at a casino named Last Resort. They explore the place and find the rest of the group, but they've all forgot how they got there and that they're meant to be searching for Basil. Once the gangs reunited, they all decide to quit their jobs. However, when they try to, they get stopped by Mr. Jawsome, who doesn't want them to quit. They battle him and eventually he gives up, forcing them to battle his number one employee, Pluto. They beat him and leave the casino and continue their journey through DeepWell until they find a whale named Humphrey, who lets them inside his belly. Inside the whale, there are 3 witches, Molly, Marina and Medusa. Journeying through Humphrey, they find Sweetheart and see she's asking the witches for help to create the perfect partner, because her and Space Boyfriend broke up. Each of the witches attempt to make a partner, but Sweetheart refuses to accept any. In the final encounter, Sweetheart escapes the whale and leaves Omori and friends to cover the cost of 1 million clams. Unable to pay, the witches fight the group and after being beaten reveal the reason they needed the clams was to free Humphrey. Now he's hungry and wants to eat the people inside of him. The team escapes unlike the witches and find the last key for the Hangman game, where the sentence spells out, "Welcome to Black Space." We get shown Basil's house, now dark and hands sticking out of the red lake. The group jumps into a whirlpool and lands in a red tunnel where a voice that refers to him as the Dreamer reminds him about the terrible thing he's about to face. At the end of the river, they find themselves back in the starting area, where they follow another shadow version of Basil back to his house. The plants on the roof are dead now, and Basil explains that each flower was planted to represent each of his friends. They reach Basil's now overgrown house and jump down the hole that's now in his house. and lands in black space. Omori is alone again and travels through the dark forest until he reaches a set of stairs. At the top he sees Mary resting in a coffin on top of a bed with white orchids. Omori loves his sister and misses her so much that even in the darkest place of his mind, he still remembers her fondly. She disappears and leaves a door in her place that leads to a black version of white space with multiple doors leading to different parts of Sunny's distorted mind. Each door Omori explores, he dives deeper into his mind. In a lot of these rooms we see Basil, and in every scene he ends up dying, representing Basil's feelings of being abandoned by Sunny after what happened. A new door with a red light shining down on it appears. Inside, Omori sees Basil being held down by the same hands that live in white space. Without any hesitation, Omori stabs Basil. Omori sees another staircase and ascends it. He sees a throne made out of two hands. He sits down, becoming the king of black space. Sunny wakes up and sees that Hero is no longer in his room. Descending the stairs again, he enters the piano room. Until now, Sunny refused to go in this room. Going in, we see Mary playing the piano. He tells him about how they used to practice together and how they never got to perform the song they always wanted to play, and she's sorry for pushing him too hard. Hero enters the room and finds Sunny on his own. He tells Sunny that it's been hard since she left and he doesn't understand why she chose to go the way she did. They go back to bed and wake up for Sunny's final day. Kim, one of Aubrey's friends, comes to Sunny's house and asks him to help, because after what happened with Basil, she has locked herself in her room. The three go to visit her and break into the nicest apartment in London for $3,000 a month. They go upstairs and find Aubrey. They find out Aubrey was keeping the photos with Mary, and the four of them reinsert the pictures and were showing what life was like for them when they were all friends. The reunited group go to check on Basil so Aubrey can apologise, but when they get there they find out Basil is visiting his grandma in the hospital. So to pass time until he returns, they go to Sunny's house and end up in the back garden. The only thing that remains is a lonely tree stump, the place Mary hanged herself from. They venture further back and go into the tree house where they find the last picture, and it has a key on the back that says "Don't forget, it's in the toy box." Aubrey leaves the treehouse and the boys follow. She places the pinwheel on the stump and talks about how angry she was when Mary died. She was angry at how everyone moved on and how left behind she felt. She tells us why she stole the album from Basil. After Mary died, she asked Basil to hang out with her. Basil acted distant and left shortly after they got to his room. She saw the folder and looked through it. She saw that he had blacked out Mary's face on every photo. In order to stop him from doing any more damage, she stole the album. Feeling bad about what she did, she falls to the floor and starts crying. Hero and Kel move closer to comfort her, but Sunny steps away. They all decide to go back to Basil's. Polly tells him that he came home but went straight to his room without saying anything. Unable to get a response from him, the group decide to sleep in the living room for the night in case he comes out. Everyone goes to sleep and we wake up in white space. We return to white space, but this time as Sunny instead of Omori. We walk up to see the normal scenery and Omori waiting for us. Sunny destroys the black light bulb, removing the safety of white space and starting the final battle of Sunny's mind. During the battle, a shadowy figure transforms into Sunny's fears, eventually leading to the one he's yet to face. We see a girl in a white dress hanging in the air. Sunny stays calm and the shadow vanishes, leaving a now white light bulb. Sunny picks it up and is transported to a path in a forest. Walking down the path, we see Basil standing in front of a tree. He tells us that it will be hard to accept the truth for that day, and Sunny has to stay strong. Basil gives Sunny a new photo album and he continues finding new pictures. These ones are different than the last photos, now being dark and distorted. He travels through his living room, a hospital with dozens of dying patients, and finally a stage. Eventually he comes across a tree with a noose hanging off it, the final picture laying at the bottom. Putting them in the folder, we piece together what actually happened that day. Mary did not die by suicide. Sunny and Mary got into an argument at the top of the stairs, which led to Sunny pushing her down, which caused Mary to fall down the stairs and break her neck. Realising what he'd done, Sunny falls to the ground in shock. Basil arrives and sees what happened. In order to protect Sunny, he drags Mary outside and hangs her from a tree to make it look like a suicide. Sunny wakes up and goes upstairs to check on Basil. Together, they confront the shadowy figure referred to as something. Unable to fight it, they both start attacking each other until Basil stabs Sunny in the eye, causing the game to fade to black. We then see Sunny wandering the foggy streets until he returns to his house and finds Basil there, where he tells Sunny all he ever wanted to do was protect him. Sunny enters his house and uses the key on the toy box. Inside, he finds his violin destroyed and his sheet music stained with blood. He leaves the house and travels through a long highway where we see what life was like before Mary passed, and how happy everyone was. After the memory, Sunny returns to the stage. He gets ready to play his violin. He falls to his knees. It's time to do what he couldn't. He returns to White Space for the final battle with Omori. Omori tells Sunny about how much of a coward he is, how much pain and suffering he's caused, how it's his fault everyone got torn apart. Omori overpowers Sunny and we're presented an option. Do we want to continue? By not quitting, we see one of the greatest scenes in any game. Sunny stands back up and readies his violin. Him and Mary play the song they couldn't. Memories of them growing up get shown to us while the song plays. Headspace is a reality he made where everyone stayed together and Mary didn't die. He learns to let her go. The song ends and Mary is now resting peacefully. Sunny then hugs Omori. He drops his knife and disappears. Sunny leaves White Space for the last time and wakes up in a hospital bed. He leaves his room and heads down the hall and is left with one final choice. Does he follow his friends from Headspace or follow Basil to check on him? Sunny enters Basil's room. He sees his three friends standing around Basil. They turn towards him and the game's final line is said, "I have to tell you something." Something I want to mention about Basil is that he was 12 when he staged Mary's suicide. And given what we know about his upbringing and how his parents left him with his sick grandma, it could mean that Basil was also considering his own suicide. How would someone of his age in that time period know how to hang someone? The final thing I want to mention before the end of the video is at the start where Sunny goes downstairs to cook steak. We get told that his house has no electricity or that it's off most of the time. So how could he microwave the steak? He ate a cold raw steak then proceeded to throw up. Even in the real world, he's completely checked out. In the forest, you can find a gigantic steak. When eaten, you lose the ability to run it, says you're too full. This could mean that Sunny has either lost his appetite or can't hold down his food. His trauma and anxiety are starving him. This game is constantly fighting for the #1 spot in my favourite games. It's everything I look for. It leaves me thinking about it. I first played this game last year and I've still not had an experience like it since. If you haven't yet, I heavily recommended playing this game, as I didn't go too in depth on a lot of the characters or areas, and this game's an experience everyone needs to have. Thank you for watching.